I'm sorry. Hi, good evening, and welcome to Momentous Live, episode 85. I think he's listening to us. I think he knows what we're going to be talking about today and is sabotaging our attempts to live stream, especially after our rants last week.
Oh,
Am I
yeah.
right? I think that's what's going to happen. We're doubling down. We're taking it to the big boys of tech, keeping them in check. And then we're going to get wrecked. Hi, I'm Tristan Jutra.
I'm William Silver.
I'm Gray Williams.
And I'm Tasia Custodi, only if you can hear me.
We can hear you. Hooray. Okay.
Oy, we made it.
We made a gang. Hey, I just realized our order. But there we go. There's our traditional order. Okay, so let's do this. First, hey, in case you're wondering, if you want to find out more about this poop show, visit us at momentous.tv/links with links to all the socials, some of which you can get alerts on when we go live around 7 p.m. Pacific, when it all works.
Ish.
So
yeah.
Maybe by episode 100, we'll have this locked.
Exactly.
Maybe.
It's not too far away now. We're 15 episodes to go, 100. And then bring on the nukes. All right, so we'll make this go away. Bye-bye. And let's get into just one quick follow-up. It's our challenge every week. There's always so many interesting stories, and we have to limit ourselves. I think we're going to be missing someone for a couple of weeks. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So, you try to customize the stories for what's going on, who's going to be here and the like. And I will just bring up our little thing here, share the screen. This makes for great radio. Okay. We're going to start off with a little Gray Williams story. The space station just took evasive action to avoid egregious space junk. Subtitle should be, "Thanks, Russia."
Yep.
Great. What's going on here with the International Space Station? And why is it having to take evasive action?
Cosmos 1408 was blown up with a missile, which sounds like the plot of a bad Bond film, but yeah, so it's created a ring of debris. We've got a ton of space junk around the Earth to begin with, and this is actually sort of laying the groundwork for one of the most exciting, I think, professions going to be coming up, which is going to be space janitor. And so essentially they've taken an evasive maneuver, which I can only hope someone kind of gave it some gravitas, like red alert, battle stations, evasive, Reich Alpha 1, and that's good. It's interesting. It's like we kind of brought this up before. We now have private corporations who have the capability of putting their own satellites into orbit. There's really no responsibility or recognizance to remove this stuff. Russia famously earlier this year had threatened to deorbit something into, any country really that it desires. Elon Musk famously, of the Twitter temper tantrum, does have the capability of dropping a chunk of satellite anywhere he pleases at this point. I do imagine that a lot like, questionable individuals with the nuclear football, if the order was given, they'd probably go, yeah, no, we're not going to do that. But this really is an example of, quite frankly, a bad actor doing something stupid, and now people were put in danger. So,
and it was like a year because they were decommissioning one of their own craft, and so they just blew it up, and now we've got an extra ring of junk around the Earth. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. And so, when I think of the Kremlin, ring of junk is actually a perfect phrase for it. So yeah, that's it. That's the story. Is we now have space junk thanks to some boys and their toys.
Perfect. Ring of Junk is my favorite Johnny Cash remix.
Yeah, I was about to say.
All right, so just okay, so let's get on to some we've got a number of poison apple stories this week. There's some good, it's the usual good apple, bad apple. Remember, corporations, they're just there to make their shareholders' money. And some things you can understand, some things like you wonder what they're going for. They're just doubling down, rent seeking, and the like. But let's start off with something that is not entirely surprising because inflation is a thing everywhere right now. But Apple hikes music and Apple Music and Apple TV Plus subscription prices, and along with the Apple One subscription prices as well. So we're just looking at a couple dollars here, a couple dollars there. Apple TV Plus went from $4.99 US per month to $6.99 per month, and from $49.99 US per year to $69 US per year. Nice. And then Apple Music, it's increased $1 to $2 for the individual family plans per month, and $10 per year for the individual annual plan. And then Apple One has seen increases of a few dollars here and there as well, $2 to $3 per month. And one interesting thing is a lot of times when corporations announce price hikes, they don't really explain them. And Apple took great pains to explain why they're increasing the prices here due to some cost increases from the publishers and whatnot. They're saying, well, the artists will get more money, et cetera, et cetera. Apple TV Plus, they came in at a very aggressive price when they didn't have all that much to offer in the way of TV shows and movies because they're doing all originals. Now they've got lots and lots of award-winning stuff. So now they're hoping that people wouldn't mind paying a little bit extra, and it's still, a deal compared to some of the other services, although they still don't have lots and lots compared to others. But we've seen Netflix, Disney Plus, like everyone has been raising their prices. Tasia, are you on board with this, or does this feel like they're just money grabbing to you?
I'm not really surprised. I think it's kind of just par for the course. I think I get surprised when companies don't every year, every 2 years, up the price a little bit, unfortunately.
Fair enough. Well, that's one thing. I mean, costs ever increasing to organizations with inflation and the like, the labor costs are going up as, of course, you've got minimum wage goes up, and that pushes everyone else's wages up too. And then you've got just with all the trillions of dollars that have been pumped into economies around the world with the pandemic and whatnot, things are bound to go up. But if that's not enough, Apple has actually just made another controversial move, and this is on the advertising side. So for the apps on iPhone, so if people want to go and boost any posts directly from their iOS device, say if they're doing a Facebook advertising campaign, they've posted an organic post and they want to give it a little extra juice by paying some money to Facebook, Apple's now saying, if you want to do that, you got to use in-app purchase mechanisms, so we get our 30% cut. And this is seen as a shot directly across the bow of Meta, who owns Facebook. Gray, being in this business and doing this kind of ad buying for your clients, is this really is this a real issue? Or many people who are managing these kinds of things, promoted posts, ad campaigns, are they really doing it on their mobile devices anyway? Or is this a real issue, or is this kind of a much ado about nothing?
I think this is much ado about nothing. I think Apple Legal might be bored right now. Looking at this,
just looking for change in the couch cushions at this point.
Yeah, well, I think here's the thing. Meta right now is focused on their metaverse products, right? And with the Meta Quest Pro coming out and actually finding its way into people's homes already and offices. Mostly homes. I don't really think this is going to be an office product as much as they really desperately want it to be. But looking at this, I think this is Apple kind of going, we see a baby and we're just going to poke you a little bit, knowing that we're coming for you in this space. It feels a little, I don't know, like Sharks and the Jets. Because looking at this, boosted posts are pretty much the worst way to spend your advertising dollar with Meta. There are a few things that perform as badly for ROI as boosted posts. They have their place, but not often. The thing that kind of got me here was when they said, what was it? That will this eventually apply to their standalone Ads Manager apps? Now, I'm sure there are folks out there that are managing the Ads Manager experience through apps right now, but that's not going to affect a whole lot of folks who are doing it, at the agency level. And even, if you were using an Ads Manager app, you could very easily switch over to mobile Safari. So this is just, I think, adding kind of grit into the underwear of anyone that's kind of using these services, and it's just making Meta less comfortable to use. kind of just kind of turning up the heat a little bit and making things less comfortable and less usable, and letting Meta know, like, we built this city, and you are not rock and roll. So yeah.
And maybe while Meta's got their eye on another ball, being their the metaverse, and less so on their actual bread and butter, which is their advertising business, Apple figured this is. I mean, it feels a little extractive, but like you say, how many people are actually managing ad campaigns or promoted post campaigns of any import or size on their mobile device? Anyhow, I would expect most people are doing this on laptop or desktop. But hey, if it's free money for Apple, services revenue is where it's at, I guess. Yeah. It just, I mean, it's just, I guess it's just, it feels like it's not a great look, quite honestly, but it's not.
It just sounds like a dick move.
Yeah, kind of. In other Apple news, this is something for, Will is always very security conscious here. So this is a story that I thought would be right up your alley here, Will. Apple released a patch for iPhone and iPad 0 day, as reported by an anonymous source. So as a reminder, a 0 day exploit is one where there is absolutely no advance warning given to a corporation or the public about a vulnerability. So the corporation has to scramble quickly to get it addressed. And these vulnerabilities that have been discovered are being addressed in iOS 16.1 and iPad OS 16, which fix a number of other vulnerabilities as well. So, Will, have you done any updates today on your iPad or iPhone? And if not, when are you planning on doing so?
As we're talking, or I don't know. I'm definitely trying to keep up on these things. I will say I'm having some problems recently with my computer, and they're around music software. And I'm trying to, I think I might have reached out to you, Tristan. I've been thinking about reaching out to you and Gray a little bit more, but I am now starting to question whether I update everything, given that I'm running music software, and music software always seems to be 3 steps behind. So yeah, I phones are okay, but I'm not going to update to 13, I think, for a little bit.
Oh, you mean on the macOS Ventura on the Mac side? Gotcha. Well, yeah. So these vulnerabilities seem to be iPhone and iPad specific. So I think usually what I do is update my iPad first, because that's like the most optional device. Then the iPhone, which is pretty crucial, but if I it's usually fine. And then my Mac, I'm still a couple of years behind on my Mac upgrades. Now, Tasia, you were debating today whether or not to upgrade to macOS Ventura, which just dropped as well. Can you explain us a little bit about your emotional roller coaster ride today? And that kind of ties into what we're talking about here, about possibly breaking things.
Yes. Well, I had to hem and haw on whether I should do it to get video views or not, to have it near the day of its release. And I decided not. And I will sacrifice some views to wait, only because, like Will, I learned the hard way with the last major update that sometimes things are not compatible. And like, I have a lot of plugins and themes and add-ons in my editing suite. And even still, some things are just not compatible. And so it's like, I'm getting around it just fine. Most things are updated, but I don't want to risk it. However, I do have a security concern, and that's why I was thinking, well, maybe I should just also go for it. So a week ago, maybe, I can't remember. What's time? I texted you guys and I asked you like recommendations, like Malwarebytes or like other malware, So the reason I asked you this is because normally when I have videos like rendering, I'm like either on realtor.com or I'm on TMZ whilst I wait for my content to render. Okay. And I was on TMZ, and all of a sudden it was not a pop-up. The whole website changes, the URL changes, and it's some fake like McAfee thing. And I'm like, well, this is weird. And you can't do anything, but like, I just closed the tab because it's like, you can't click anywhere or do anything. So I was like, well, this is weird. So I like ran a scan I restarted my computer because I was just like, I don't know, freaking out. A week goes by, nothing happens. I'm like back on TMZ. I'm like, whatever. Then it happened again on TMZ and only on TMZ.
I've had that
So
happen. I've had
what
something
is
like that
that?
happen.
That's
All
John
I-
McAfee back from the grave.
Yeah.
He's possessed your computer. All I can think is that it's some Tristan. I think I talked to you about this. I feel like we're doing live tech support here, but I think I talked to you and I talked to some people. It might be some sort of cookies gone awry, and I don't think there's actually. I mean, I'd love to hear Gray's opinion on this, but the ultimate bad thing is if you clicked on anything. But
No,
other
I
than
just
that,
closed the tab.
yeah.
But then I started reading how like some of these things. So a few years ago, TMZ had a breach, and I guess the whole thing was like this malware ad got on their site, and what was happening was even if your eyeballs were on it and like viewing it, it was wreaking havoc. And so then I started freaking out when I was Googling like what like malware on TMZ and like start freaking out because I'm thinking, well, now I've viewed it 2 or 3 times. Like, what does this mean? I just want to search my entertainment stories on TMZ. So I haven't been back on it since I texted you guys like a week and a half or whatever, because I don't know what this is. It completely redirects. It's a different URL and it's like a fake page.
Maybe it's the universe telling you to like visit better websites.
Gray,
Gray?
help.
More than one browser?
I've only tried it in Chrome. I was afraid to reopen it anywhere else again.
So first of all, give it a shot in Safari, right? Because
Okay.
just if there's an extension issue, and you could also try it in Brave, right, and see if that happens. If it is an extension issue, purge your extensions and start again, and see if it pops up. But chances are, I think Will's right. It's a cache, cookies thing. If it's happening on all of the websites, then we've got an underlying issue, and that's where we gotta get under the hood and look at the plumbing. But my gut feeling, it's something simple or bad extension.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's clear my cookies.
Clear your cookies.
While you're at it, maybe have a look at your system preferences and see if there's any login items you don't recognize, because sometimes when you get infected, they get thrown in there, and then even if you restart, you got some background processes going. Now, that being said, Malwarebytes should pick anything up, but you could always try downloading. I'm not a big fan of antivirus software as it is, because it can be problematic in its own right, especially if you've got it running all the time. But yeah, Malwarebytes is the one that I trust the most, but I only run it when needed. I do not keep it constantly running.
Same.
So if you have any, maybe, I know, Will, you've used Sophos in the past.
Yeah.
But whatever, if you want to download a trial of anything, just run it once and then like ditch it, just to make sure there's nothing maybe that Malwarebytes isn't picking up. But yeah, the Gray's point there about the extensions, like the browser-based stuff, could definitely be there, because sometimes extensions get installed, or sometimes existing extensions that you have get co-opted, like they get taken over by other malicious developers. That happened to me once. I think I mentioned this before, where I had a Chrome extension with that had Shia LaBeouf coming out on the screen once in a while. You hit a button, you do this little do-it speech, just like to motivate you. And I used to show it off in course I taught, because I thought it was kind of funny. It's like, do it now, just. But yeah, that got taken over somehow by some malicious actor, and then next thing you know, your searches are getting redirected, and all sorts of nastiness is happening. So I had to deep six that one.
I will say a positive. Sorry to jump in, but Tasia, is that I had it happen multiple times to me, and I cleared my cache, and it seemed to be fine. And it happened on different sites. It wasn't the same site. It was the same browser, but it was different sites, and I didn't have it happen to me again.
Okay, interesting.
So you got a big to-do list there. But speaking of malware, here's a little article that we've been hanging on to for a couple of weeks. Here's a dummy's guide to infecting your Mac with malware. So be careful, because our brains are kind of broken, and it's hard to like read something that it's ironic and they intend the opposite, because they say things like, always download cracked versions of software. What they really mean is don't do that, because otherwise you're likely going to get malware. So they have all these tips and tricks. Never update your current software. So actually, keep your software updated. Due diligence is for losers. No, actually, it's for winners. click each link you see and do what it says. And this is something that actually is quite insidious because there's so many websites, especially if you're not running any ad blockers or pop-up blockers, you get these things showing up saying, oh, your version of Flash is out of date or Java's out of date. And it's like most people aren't running either Java or Flash, so they click a thing and next thing you know, you got trash on your computer. And a lot of them are advertising based, redirecting your searches quite often. They take over your Omnibox and your web browser. So just be really mindful of clicking anything like that says your system needs updating. There's stuff. A lot of times they use warnings. They use fear and urgency, often security related, to get you to compromise your own security. So it's just a good little reminder of things to check out here. Only ever connect to public Wi-Fi and refuse to use a VPN. So, if you do the opposite for all these kind of tips and tricks here. So it's just worth having a little look and try to do the opposite. Anything to add there, Gray?
Well, it's kind of interesting that you mentioned upgrading to Ventura. Ventura actually does have some really cool features for preventing malware from happening. One of the things is, with like secure preference panes that used to kind of get stuck in. The right click to remove preference pane actually works now. I know because I just did it, which lets you know that I updated to Ventura.
Is that why your audio has been cutting out for the last 10 seconds?
Oh God. I'm back.
Yeah, that was a little strange. That was Tim Cook.
Right.
He's on to us. All right. So next up, we're just speaking of, again, a different type of malware. Some folks might remember several years ago when all of a sudden, all at once, everyone got a free U2 album downloaded automatically to our devices. Anyone who was running iTunes on a Mac or the various music apps on iPhones and iPads, and a lot of people were like, "What is happening?" And it was all part of this cross promotion that Apple and U2 did together, and it caused all sorts of outrage. And at the time, I'm like, what's the big deal? You got something for free, like just simmer. But I think the larger issue, and this is something that both Apple and Bono of U2 have come to reflect upon, is that it was what was so offensive about that whole scheme, even though they were trying to give something free to everyone, was just almost like the invasive nature of the operation, where people are like, against your will, just giving you something and it's going right into your device, as opposed to giving you a little banner popping up, say, "Hey, available now. Click here to download for free. A gift from Bono and the boys at U2 and your friends at Apple." But no, they didn't do it like that. They just stuck it in. So some reflections on this whole incident have come to light in a memoirs by U2's Bono, and this is 8 years after the fact. And this went to 500 million users. Can you imagine the appeal of that whole idea? And this was, a collaboration by Apple and Bono to do that. And Bono says it's his fault. He's fallen on a sword here. It was his idea, whatever. And Apple went for it. And, there's money was exchanged and whatnot. But, Apple went and gave people the option to be able to remove said album, because lots of people aren't necessarily U2 fans. But Bono said it was not just a banana skin that they slipped on. It was a landmine. Anyway, just very quickly, Will, do you remember when this happened? What was your reaction to getting this free gift from Apple?
I remember when it happened. I don't even remember having it or listening to it or anything like that. I remember people got quite mad about it. I mean, it's sort of like the old thing about you go to a concert and they play one of your favorite songs to begin with, and then they go, "Something from our new album," and then everyone goes and gets a drink at the bar.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like, apparently it's a bit of a mediocre album too, which didn't help. My dad was really confused. It's like, what is this? Is this? And the album cover too, it's like a black and white photo of like two dudes with no shirts on, kind of in an embrace. And my dad's like, what is this going on here? I didn't ask for this. So, Gray, how about you? Do you remember getting this into your device, and how did you react?
I do. I wasn't too bothered by it at the time, but I didn't also play it at the time. I think I listened to a couple songs, was just like, this isn't their best work, and kind of just pieced out at that point. I did remove it as soon as I was given the opportunity to. I have no idea if it's still in my Apple Music or my iTunes library. Maybe it is.
Could be. It's there for whenever you want it again.
Maybe in honor of this, I should go back and give it a listen. That's
Tasia, how about you?
Yeah, it's probably still there because when this came out, I was like working for a different company, and this was the first video that went viral for me on YouTube was like how to delete the YouTube album off your iPhone. And we pushed it out literally like that same, it was like that day or the next day or something. It was crazy. And it was a catch though. You couldn't actually remove it. That's the other reason people were
Yeah.
pissed, was because it was, there was no opt-in. It was forced on you. It was taking up space.
Mm-hmm.
And then you couldn't really get rid of it. You could remove it or like hide it or whatever, or like you know, take it out of sight, but it was still kind of always sitting in the background. So I remember it was funny.
So did you feel violated though by having this
No.
dropped in? No?
No,
Okay.
it was just more annoying because it was
Okay.
like, this was back when, oh God, I don't even know what iPhone I had. And, you know, you don't have a big storage capacity to begin with. If I'm going to put a whole album on there, it ain't going to be that one, I'll tell you right now. Like, it was just this odd. And then I remember at the time, and it's different now, I believe, but at the time, you couldn't actually physically delete it. That
right.
was the thing that was bothering me. And like a lot of users was like, okay, you did this thing, but like now you're not even giving us an option to like actually get rid of it. So the video I did was like some workaround. Yeah.
You still have it?
It was like how to like remove or like hide or whatever.
Yeah.
So like it wasn't there and like people would forget it was there, but it wasn't actually deleted.
Did somebody do a video on getting rid of it? I seem to remember seeing it. I thought maybe
Oh,
it
there
was
were
you,
a ton.
Tisha. Yeah.
No, she did.
I
Yeah.
d-
Yeah.
I did one, but there were a ton because that was like for a week. That was all people would talk about.
Yeah.
Well,
Whereas
I think I've
now you can hit a button, at least on individual songs, I'm assuming on an entire album, you can hit a button and it'll say like, if you want to delete this, it will remove this from here and your library. So like, it's like a full delete now, but it was not that way from what I recall.
I don't think I bothered deleting it because I'm a bit of a pack rat. For the
You
physical
don't
pack,
say.
for the physical pack rats out here looking to collect stuff and have more money than brains, how about buying a sealed 2007 iPhone, which recently sold at auction for $39,000. Bidding started at $2,500. It's in the box. This is so. Oh, this is the 8 gigabyte version. So it's the 1 tier up. It's not the original 4 gigabyte version. $39,339.60. I have a couple of questions for you. I mean, given
Just
that
a couple.
So it's interesting in this article, they talk about the things you could have bought with that $39,000, including 19 Mac Studio displays or 24 Apple Studio displays. Sorry, 19 Mac Studio desktops or 24 Apple Studio displays or 32 MacBook Air laptops with M2 processor, 35 iPhone 14 Pro Max phones, for your whole extended family, 48 Apple Watch Ultra models, 97 Apple Watch Series 8 models, 65 iPad Air tablets, or 156 pairs of iPods Pro too. So lots of other things you could do with that $39,000. But I have two questions for each of you. One is, if you had this kind of disposable income, what is it that you would buy that you maybe didn't get a chance to in the past and would really like to get your hands on a pristine version of this? I think we all know what Will's going to say.
Vestax QFO.
But we'll get
but
to
they
you,
go
Will.
for $8,000. I don't know about pristine ones, but
all right. So but that's my question. So again, it's sealed. Something from your past, like that you could buy now and have. What is it going to be, and would you crack the seal and to actually enjoy it? We'll start with you, Will. What is that specific? Let me guess. It's a Vestax mixer.
Vestax QFO. You can
You even
look
know
at
right off the top of your head. Okay, yeah.
You can look it up if you want. It's a used one can go anywhere from $5,000 to $8,000. I actually know the book value. And they
refresh
retail
eBay
for
like every night. Is that
yeah. They retail for $1,600 at the time, but now they go between $5,000 and $8,000. So yeah, they're not cheap. A new one in box wrapped, I can only imagine how much that would cost. probably 20,000.
Enough. It's okay. This is blank check territory here.
Yeah.
All right. How about you, Gray?
This is an odd question for me because I was actually in Ontario over the weekend, going through all of the things that I had collected over my life, and it actually makes me really uncomfortable thinking about buying things to keep them now. No, here's the thing. I actually did find that among those things, there were some things that were worth some money. Not the least of which being a set of Apple Think Different posters, the educational posters, including like Gandhi and Jim Henson.
Those are appreciated, yeah.
Yeah, and they certainly have. And so I have 3 sets of those. I got them from Apple Markham because I was one of the first people on board with Mac OS 10 beta back in the day. And it's just like looking at this, I'm like, do I really want to have something just to have it? And the answer is an Austin DB. James Bond's car, essentially.
Okay.
What I would like, but that's pretty much about it.
What year would that be?
God, the original? I don't know. But no, an original iPod would be interesting. The original back in the day, I think, if I could get one of those and keep it sealed, that'd be kind of neat, But still,
I totally opened the Vestax QFO, by the way. There's not even a question.
I was this close to pulling the trigger on 20th anniversary Mac a couple of years ago, and I was just like, the white glove service doesn't come with it anymore.
I could have had one about 15 years ago for $450, and I didn't pull that. And now that very same one is now someone's asking $40,000 for it. Oh, but it's not in great shape. So great. So if you got that iPod, or say, was the Austin Healey or the iPod, would you crack the seal? Would you drive the car? Would you use the iPod?
The iPod, I would probably, you know what I'd do? I'd find a hermetically sealed room so that I could actually remove it from the packaging and put it into an argon-filled display case, wherein I would load on the U2 album and nothing else.
Exactly. And would Tim Cook and Bono and Johnny Ive, for good measure, be there with you with their white gloves?
I'd be like, Johnny, could you tamper the edges of this display case, please?
Exactly. In your perfect white world. Maybe have the music playing from the original Mac versus PC ads in the background too, that kind of like strange childlike music.
Yes. This is all coming together. Find me this iPod.
All right, Tasia, how about you? What unobtainium, unobtainable Avatar. What's something from your past, or that you either had and don't have anymore, or never got a chance to get, that you could get in pristine condition if you had more money than brains?
I sent you a link in the chat, and this is a hard one for me, but I think, and I might have them because sometimes I keep old devices. Like I have my iPhone 3G, however, and I have my first flip phone. However, I went through a lot of Blackberries, y'all, and I had a pink one. I think that was the BlackBerry Curve, but I also had like BlackBerry Bold. Like there were so many weird, anyway. It's where I learned, with the QWERTY keyboard, how to text with my thumbs. Y'all, I learned so much on that device. Little baby Tasia was like snapping photos with my cat, who's now 13, and she was just a little kit, her head was too big for her body, and I would use the little BlackBerry. I loved my BlackBerry.
Do you still have the calluses on your thumbs?
So,
guys, it was so good.
I have an original BlackBerry 957 when it was on its own individual network that I literally just put in the recycle pile this weekend. It's not been recycled yet, so if you want it, I will get my dad to pull it out and send it to you direct.
Oh my gosh. To keep? Because I don't know if I have my Blackberries.
That's all yours. That is all yours.
It's just nostalgia.
Yes.
Nostalgia.
Yeah. Nostalgia is, it's costing me rent money with all the stuff.
I want to do like what I think maybe we've covered it before, or maybe I'm dreaming this, but you could do those like memory box things, but it's with like parts. So like they'll like say take an iPhone apart and they'll show all the inner components, but it looks like this really cool piece of art. Yeah. I would love to do something like that with old tech.
Okay. We can do that.
Yes. Thanks, Gray.
Yeah.
As for me,
that's called knolling. It's KNOLLING, knolling, and there's a great subreddit for it. Go check it out. We'll do it.
Googling now.
As for me, the one on my list is not terribly interesting. It's just something that's actually I go and look once in a while, and if wouldn't need to be sealed, but to have one in pristine condition would be amazing, and I would probably want to use it. It's something I've lusted after since the '80s, because it's the portable version of probably one of my very favorite computers, which the original I have just over to the right of me over here. This is the Commodore SX-64. It's the portable version of the Commodore 64. This is kind of looks like an Osborne or a K-Pro. It's similar, the executive carrying case with a tiny CRT monitor, 5.25-inch floppy drive, and a detachable keyboard there. This was, in my mind, this is like back the 1984, 85 version of me who had seen this in magazines, like, this is amazing. This is what grown-ups must use, and you could take it anywhere. See, one of the original luggables.
So cool.
And you can see them on eBay, and they're going anywhere from in various conditions. From
weren't they called transportables?
Yeah, I think that's one of them. There's a few different terms for sure, but just
I kind of want to show this to my niece and nephew and be like, do you guys know what this is? Because it's we've come such a long way in such a short amount of time. It's wild.
It would fit in any number of kind of retro futuristic shows that we've seen nowadays, whether it's stuff from Blade Runner 2049 or even Andor or Loki, just some of the aesthetic they have there, that's sort of this
Stranger
mystery
Things
technology that you're not sure what decade it's from, but it's super cool.
Well, there was a character in She-Hulk, I'm not going to spoil anything for people who haven't watched it, who had some floppy drives on part of it if you looked really closely.
The other thing I was thinking of was the second John Wick movie. They had some repurposed Commodore VIC-20s hooked up to green screens. It was totally faked out, but it's just cool seeing Commodore VIC-20s and these tattooed ladies or the dispatcher operator types we're using. It's
Star Wars still uses stuff like that, Retrotech and Blade Runner, and
Star Wars in Andor. They've people have been spotting old Radio Shack Tandy. Was it not which model? Model 4s, I think, is the gray and silver ones that have been kind of done up. Very cool. Anyway, so that was just our little geek out moment for today. So we're talking a bit about Apple today and a bit about geeking out. There's a trailer that dropped a couple weeks ago that got me excited because the first 2 seasons of the show were quite enjoyable, and that is Mythic Quest Season 3 is coming soon to Apple TV Plus. So this alone could very well justify the price increase for Apple TV Plus. And you'll see in this opening scene, they're kind of poking fun a little bit at the Think Different sort of campaign. This creative director of this game studio featured in the series fancies himself, a bit of a visionary, as played by Rob McElhenney from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and more recently has bought a soccer team, a UK football team with what's his face, Ryan Reynolds. Yeah. So he can be seen there. But anyone who's ever worked in an office, especially for a tech company or even a game development studio, there is a lot of truth in this. We've talked about this show before, but just wanted to give a heads up that season 3 is coming soon. And it sounds like, the new dynamic here, new rival company. There's a lot of, I think, a lot of Ubisoft vibes in this Mythic Quest as well, in the dev studio they're talking about. So if you haven't checked it out, I encourage you to do so. Another trailer that came across our desk here was that for Creed 3. I think, Will, you and I saw the first 2 Creed movies together.
Yes.
And they featured Sylvester Stallone. This is the first one to not feature Sylvester Stallone, and the first one to be directed by Michael B. Jordan in his directorial debut. I believe I think the first Creed was directed by Ryan Coogler, who directed Black Panther and others. So this, we're seeing Michael B. Jordan reprising his role as Adonis Creed, and his nemesis in this this installment is played by someone that we saw at the end of Loki, playing one version of Kang the Conqueror, who we may see later on, and that is Jonathan Majors. So it's weird. I've never really been a big boxing guy. But there was something about when Rocky came out in the, the sort of like 76, 77. It was one of the first movies that I had seen growing up, that and Star Wars. And so I had this weird kind of affinity for it, and then I've pretty much seen like all the other Rocky movies just somehow throughout my life. We had the one where he fights Mr. T, and the one where he fights
Rocky 3.
Yeah, Rocky 3, and then Rocky 4 was with like Drago.
Rocky 4 is one of my favorite movies of all time. It is 80s cheese, like double layered.
If he dies, he dies. So, and then they kind of rebooted with Rocky Balboa, which is still Sylvester Stallone's character later in life, and then they had Creed and Creed 2, where Rocky has taken on the role of mentor, and they've been. And with a couple of hiccups, but here and there, like Rocky 5 apparently wasn't that great. I'm not sure if I've even seen that one, but they've been pretty consistently good, like well written, well directed, well acted, and so on. So this is another one that I don't know if Gray and Tasia will be down for this, but Will, you and I might have to see when it comes out.
I'm psyched. I love these movies. I love the Creed franchise when they kind of, I guess spun it off. I guess is what you would say. I'm psyched for this.
And then we also have the latest in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We see a trailer for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which features a certain beloved actor in there as well that you may have, I'm not going to talk about it here, but you may have seen it in the headline. We see the return of Michael Douglas and Michelle Pfeiffer, among other returning cast characters. Looks kind of wacky. It's a whole other world that's invisible to us that they're returning to, the quantum realm. Gray, how excited are you for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania?
I'm pretty darn excited. I'm curious to see just how this plays out, because Scott Lang has never really felt like a superhero. It looks like it really plays on that particular aspect of his character. And it seems at the end of the trailer that he's being offered a Faustian bargain. And so this feels different than other Marvel movies have. No one is trying to build another Ant-Man suit. No one is trying to steal anyone's powers. It sounds like they've actually, per She-Hulk, actually come up with some different plots. So exciting.
One thing to note is his daughter is now played by a third actress, and there was a minor controversy. Obviously, there was a kid who played Cassie in the first movie. But then in the Infinity movies, in the Infinity Gauntlet movies, it was played by another actress. And some people were a little mad they didn't have that actress play the character in this movie. So there was some minor upset on recasting. But yeah, so if it looks like a different character, they recast the role.
I think it's because Terrence Howard wasn't available. So they went with the...
Nice.
It's a little Iron Man joke for you.
Inside baseball, yeah.
And Tasia, I know you're not maybe so down with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but maybe you'll appreciate this special version of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, made for ants. And you see on screen, Marvel has literally downsized.
That was epic.
The trailer. So, it's not so overwhelming so that ants can actually watch it. What is real life anymore? I don't even know what's happening.
That's a cute promo. That's
right?
smart.
But way to get people talking.
Yeah.
Way to get people talking. So, yeah.
Itty bitty.
Itty bitty. What is this? A trailer for ants?
Yes.
Speaking of references.
It needs to be at least 3 times this size.
Yes.
And in the grand tradition of now currently owned Disney sub-studios, we may remember Lucasfilm, or it wasn't even called that at the time, was it? We had the Star Wars holiday special back in the day. Well, now we see a trailer for the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special coming up, which looks absolutely bonkers. I don't know, just throwing that in here because some more Guardians of the Galaxy content for us, which tends to be some of the more fun side of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But there's a very specific twist to this whole story, because we recall who the director of Guardians of the Galaxy movies is.
James Gunn.
James
Yeah, I
Gunn,
didn't even know that.
who was temporarily canceled and then uncanceled. And then while he was canceled, he went off and did a Suicide Squad movie for DC, and then came back and did another Guardians of the Galaxy, et cetera, et cetera. Well, as it turns out, James Gunn is going to be the Kevin Feige of DC movies.
Pretty cool.
So looks like he's leaving Marvel for good now, and is leaping for that brass ring. And DC wants to do what Marvel's been able to pull off, is unify its movies, its TV shows, and animated series all under one tent and have it all aligned. We'll see if they try to resurrect the cinematic universe that they've been building with Zack Snyder, and that kind of got aborted, or if they're going to continue with the one-offs like they've done with the Joker and the Batman, or they're going to somehow, even though we're seeing a sequel for the Joker, and there's probably going to be more, another Batman movie with Robert Pattinson as well. So and there was news just the other day that Henry Cavill has confirmed that he's going to be playing Superman again. So
Yep.
Taja's excited for that.
Same.
I hope he grows a mustache for another movie that has to be digitally removed again.
I made the announcement that he was coming back as Superman last night. I stood up from the couch and I was like, he's back.
So, yeah, this is an interesting turn of events here. That bye James Gunn. If there's any more Guardians of the Galaxy, it's probably not going to be James Gunn directing them, but he's going to be more heavily involved in the DC movies. I guess they liked what he did with the Suicide Squad, and then also the Peacemaker TV series, which was also a DC property. So, yeah. So, Will, what do you think? What do you think of this news? And B, do you think they should try to kind of resurrect the DC universe and put everything together, or continue with the kind of like the quasi one-offs that they're doing?
I don't know. It's a bit of. I think it's, you either have to reboot it or ignore it. But I'm not sure exactly which is best. I mean, I think I would be in for a reboot. It just seemed like they were so going down. They had some success with those Batman movies, and they just tried to turn everything dark and gritty. And I don't think it worked, and they really need to examine it character by character. I'm a little afraid that they're still jumping at shiny objects and like, well, that kind of worked. Let's put all our money on that, on that one, Red 47. But at the same time, like everyone seemed to have liked the Peacemaker for most part. But am I not misremembering? Did the Suicide Squad not do well? Like, I liked it, and I think there are people who liked it, but it didn't perform financially well at the box office, and it got some mixed reviews from fans.
I think it did better than Suicide Squad.
Oh yeah, well that was really bad.
There's enough potential there that maybe that they saw that between that and Peacemaker, that maybe they're just going to like go for the more adult oriented things. I mean, I saw an article today that Black Adam could very well have been a rated R movie, but it wasn't, and it might be suffering for that because it's getting savaged in the reviews right now. So maybe maybe the compromises they made to try to achieve the PG-13 rating just went too far, and the final product has maybe suffered for it. So if they do more stuff like Peacemaker, which if it was a movie would definitely be rated R, and then or so what the success Marvel has had with things like movies like Logan, and and Fox had with the Deadpool movies, which will now be under Marvel proper and Disney. So Marvel's looking at some more adult stuff too. So maybe maybe DC will do the bifurcated approach where you've got the slightly more family-friendly PG-13 stuff and the R stuff as well, but have it under that single creative oversight of a Kevin Feige type character who for the last 15 years or so has done amazing work shepherding Marvel to like unprecedented success and tying a couple of dozen movies together and number of TV series too. Great. Do you think this is a good move? Can DC capture lightning in a bottle like Marvel has with Kevin Feige?
No, but I think they will be able to create something interesting and new on their own. I don't know that we're going like the Marvel Juggernaut. I just they're this is not going to happen for DC in that way. I think what we will see are going to be individual interesting things that even if they do have crossover and tie-in, it's going to be a lot like DC Comics are right now, where you're going to see storylines that are going to take off on their own, and they will then divert into new storylines for new things. The idea of having this single pantheon where everything moves together in lockstep, there's no way that they could catch up. There's
It's a heavy
no way
lift.
that they could create that content.
Yeah.
And looking at it, why would you? The onslaught that is Marvel needs to be kind of the sniper shot that is DC. Single focus, move the story forwards that way, and just have it bounce off of things as it goes through, but don't try to bring everybody along the way.
Joker did $1 billion
Yeah.
for a one-off, and now they want to do a sequel and make it a musical with Lady Gaga, like we've talked about in the past. So
Genius.
we'll see.
Yeah.
And I think, there's certain things that the DC universe did that were just ill-advised. Like they kind of rushed to get to the sort of big team movie, the Justice League. They kind of rushed that a little bit too much. But then there's been things that, haven't necessarily been their fault, like the debacle, which is the Flash movie, and, a few other things. You don't plan for that. That's not bad writing. That's just bad casting.
That's Ezra Miller.
So, I mean, there's things where it's just like, man, it seems like the things that they do on purpose aren't great, and the things that they don't do on purpose aren't great. So it seems to be they need a win.
Yeah. Tasha, now you've stated pretty clearly in the past that you don't have a ton of affection for the various superhero universes that we talk about once in a while. Is there something from the present day, or your past that you would like to see maybe rebooted and a cinematic universe of characters, movies, and or TV shows created that you could really dive into, whether it's based on past movies, TV shows, books, or what have you? What's missing in your life that would really draw you in the way that some of these series franchises have drawn us in?
I mean, I would watch like another Superman show.
Mm-hmm. Like a TV series?
A TV series.
There's one on right now.
But like,
Superman and Lois.
but no, like a reboot of the original. That's what he's asking, right?
Well, so you want like another Lois and Clark as opposed to Superman and
Yes.
Lois? Okay. I've never seen Superman and
Yes.
Lois, and I never watched Lois and Clark either. So you watched Lois and Clark when it was out originally?
Oh yeah,
Uh-huh.
I loved
And?
it.
And what about it?
Like, how did nobody know that was him?
The glasses, right?
Yeah.
Dean Cain, and he just like put these glasses on, and you're like, oh, wow, transformative.
They need to retcon that at some point, where those glasses actually have some sort of magic power that scrambles people's brains or something. 'Cause, come on, they've
Yeah.
been doing that one for decades now. Christopher Reeves, like, oh wow, he looks so different with those glasses.
But the thing is,
Right?
like Christopher Reeve, it wasn't just
Yeah.
that. Like his whole posture, and that's actually where Tyler Hoechlin does a really good job. Like his Clark is goofy and fun, and and then his Superman is like, dude's gravitas, like just, stone face.
So Tasia, you would like to see, so you would have time for a rebooted kind of universe that had Superman in it, and like just Superman type characters, or some of the other Justice League type folks like Batman, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, the other Teen Titans, and so on. Like, I'm not sure how deep you would go down that rabbit hole. Can you elaborate?
I don't
a
know,
little?
because I
Yeah.
was really disappointed with Wonder Woman 1984.
Mm.
So I don't know. I just feel like it ruined it a bit for me, and the story wasn't what I wanted at all. It was like a classic trope.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pissed about it, because if we want to talk feminism and we want like girl power, it's like, why can't she have what she wants? Why is it always one or the other for female characters? I must give up my love now. Anyway, I don't want to ruin it for people that haven't seen it, but it's just like,
Oh, it's plenty ruined itself.
bummer.
Don't worry.
It's a bummer.
It's a bummer. Okay, well, we have 6 days until All Hallows Eve.
Oh,
And I'm curious what some of you do as regular traditions. I don't seem to go to as many Halloween dress up parties as much anymore, maybe on account of my advanced age, and people don't need yet another crypt keeper to show up at their parties. But one thing that folks tend to do, and we've done this here and there in the past as well, is just curl up either with a loved one or even a bunch of friends to watch a scary movie or two. And as such, there's a number of lists all over the web, about 22 overlooked horror movies from 2022 that you can stream before Halloween. So it's amazing how many horror movies get cranked out, and they're not all trash. They're not all torture porn. There's a lot of interesting stuff, a lot of creepy things, a lot of interesting foreign films as well. Now, from this list, I have seen none of them. The one that I'm most familiar with, having seen trailers, is for X, which has gotten a lot of critical acclaim. Day Shift looks interesting with Jamie Foxx. You Won't Be Alone as well with Noomi Rapace seems kind of interesting, but I have to admit not familiar with any of these, so I might check some of these out. And then another list we found: best sci-fi horror movies to stream for Halloween, and I've got a couple that I might share favorites there. But they mention things like The Thing, Alien, Event Horizon, Predator, Pitch Black, The Fly, Species, Attack the Block, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and Slither, and then even some 5 family-friendly scary movies to watch on Disney Plus for Halloween, like Hocus Pocus, Hocus Pocus 2.
Hocus Pocus 2. That was good, by the way.
Nightmare Before Christmas, Haunted Mansion, Frankenweenie, and The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad.
Now, I don't know which Haunted Mansion, but the Muppets Haunted Mansion from last year is very good, if you like the Muppets.
So, well, let's start with you, Will. So that's a recommended quote-unquote scary movie. It's more of like Halloween-y, but not overly scary. Do you have, tell me about any Halloween kind of traditions that you have in your household, and or movies or even games you like to play? Because that's another thing too, is that we have an article on best mobile horror games to play in the dark this Halloween. And there's all sorts of, PC and console horror games as well. So we'll leave that. There's a screenshot of Limbo, which is super creepy. And I played that on the PS3 back in the day. And that's available on multiple platforms, even just looking at the screenshot there. So Will, what, go-to traditions, movies, TV shows, or even games get you in the mood for Halloween?
Well, currently we just turn off all the front porch lights and hide upstairs, hoping that nobody knocks on the door. But no, we're not big Halloween people. We used to go over and spend Halloween with our nieces and nephews, and either walk around with them, or hang out and give candy to kids in my in-laws block. We haven't been doing that obviously in the last few years. I think there was like 2 years where there basically wasn't Halloween, but last year we just kind of stayed upstairs. I'm not a big scary movie fan. I'm not a huge Halloween fan, but of those movies that you showed, I guess I like some science fiction horror, sci-fi horror. A couple of those movies I would highly recommend. Attack the Block is just, I think most of those movies on the list are very well known, like Aliens and stuff. And Attack the Block is known, but I feel like of those movies, that's maybe one of the most underrated. It's
John Boyega was in that, who was in the Star Wars, the one, The Force Awakens, right?
Finn. Yeah, and also the Doctor Who's.
The yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So Attack the Block gets your vote?
I think Attack the Block of all the movies you showed. Like I said, I'm not sure which Haunted Mansion. I didn't read that in detail. Which Haunted Mansion? The one with Eddie Murphy is horrendous. Don't waste your time. But as a Disney Park fan, I sought that movie out a while ago, and it is not good. But the Muppets, if you like the wacky Muppets type of spiel, I would highly recommend the Muppets Haunted Mansion from last year.
Gotcha. just for the record, don't feel that any of you will have to stick to these lists, especially if you're not traditional horror fans. But Tasia, from what we've been talking about so far, or anything else that's not on these lists, what are your go-to Halloween traditions, TV shows, movies, or even games that get you in the mood?
I am going to tell you guys about the most formidable scene of my life. And that is in the movie Casper when Devon Sawa
Yes.
appears on those stairs. And little 10-year-old Tasia, ooh, girlfriend, let me tell you, formidable. And then they dance and they float above the floor. And he whispers, "Can I keep you?" And it's like, what are these feelings? Oh, man. That is my go-to. And I cannot wait until 2025 when I force Brett to play the Devon Sawa version of Casper for our couple's costume to celebrate the 30-year anniversary. It is the ultimate.
So this is the 1995 version of Casper that we're talking about here?
Oh, yes. Oh,
Okay.
yes. Little 10-year-old Tasia, let me tell you right now, that it just hits, you know what I'm saying? Devon Sawa with his little mushroom cut appears on those stairs. Let me tell
And I have to
you.
admit, what is a Devon Sawa? Is that like a child actor or something?
He's an actor. He's still an actor, by the way. He's very
Okay.
good. He's still in a lot of stuff now. He's in like shows now, and
Right.
he's aged quite nicely, I'm happy to say.
Lovely.
But for those that aren't familiar with that movie, which I don't know why you wouldn't know, Casper, it's the whole time he's like this animated little ghost, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's this really awesome scene because like she's able to like bring him back for like a short time.
That's Christina Ricci's character?
Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes.
Wow.
And I don't want to give the rest
Yeah.
away of like why he can't stay human,
Mm-hmm.
but he shows up at like her dance, like she's trying to like fit in with people from school, so they're having like a dance at her haunted mansion that she's moved into, and like
Right.
he shows up on those stairs and my heart just stopped as that little 10-year-old girl, and I was like that's, I think, when I realized I had feelings, you know what I mean?
Not sure if those are the sort of feelings that the filmmakers were intending, but why not?
Formidable. Well, I'll share you a reel later, Will, because a girl posted an Instagram reel about her when she was a little girl watching that movie and talked about that scene, and it is like so exactly how I felt. Yeah, that's my go-to. Plus, we decorate like crazy, and this year we're having a Halloween party again. Our house is becoming the upside down.
Oh, awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been 2 years without a party, so we were like, we're doing it. So Brett's like built a whole portal for the outside, and
What?
yeah.
Wow.
So what? Cool. What are you're both dressing up this year, and what as?
I'm going as well. I can't say.
Oh, because
the images are complete. That's what I will say.
Fair enough. So you'll have to share with us next week. I'll be pick of the week next week is my own costume.
I can't give it away before Halloween.
Fair enough. So Gray had to dip, but now he's back. Gray, what are your go-to Halloween traditions, scary movies, TV shows, games that get you in the mood for Halloween?
Eternal Darkness is a really great game for the Nintendo GameCube that was developed by Silicon Knights, I think out of St. Catharines. Absolutely phenomenal game. It was very, very interesting because it did a variety of things to kind of fake you out. At one point the game would like crash, and then it would come back and show your memory card, and it would say, now deleting memory card.
Oh no!
Using the GameCube interface.
Uh-huh.
Or in other scenes, it would show mute in the style of CRT mute televisions, and you'd sit there turning the volume up and up and up, and then the game would come out with just an absolutely blood-curdling scream. Phenomenal game. Just really absolutely messed up. Lovecraftian horror, and yeah, very, very neat stuff. As far as movies go, Event Horizon. Sam Neill from Jurassic Park.
Yep.
Just a delightful film. that is
Delightful.
terrifying.
Yeah, that's exactly the word.
Anytime you can hear see someone rip out their eyeballs and speak in Latin to you as people scream in the background as they're being tortured, quite good.
And
Um,
hilarity ensues.
yeah, yeah,
Yes.
you know, it's like one of those massive gushing blood scenes like you've got in The Shining. You know, essentially the idea here is that Sam Neill's character as an engineer built a faster than light travel that was supposed to take humans beyond the stars, and it disappeared. I think it's just outside of Jupiter or Saturn, one of the gas giants. And 10 years later, it's back. After the first test of its drive, it disappears, and it's back suddenly. And the communications, the logs that they're getting from it, don't sound good. And so they send a team out there with him to find out what happened to his baby. And did it cross space, or did it transport itself to hell?
Exactly. I
mean,
think I probably, and Lawrence Fishburne's in it as well.
Yeah.
I think did I tell the story about how we saw this with my wife Stephanie and her sister and brother-in-law, and we just for some reason it was like we were all game to see this. Oh, it's about a haunted spaceship, no big deal kind of thing, and then that came out of there and everyone has PTSD basically.
Just
Like,
one of these like,
not what I was expecting.
how you doing? I'm fine.
Very,
Everything's fine.
very effective.
The last movie that I'd recommend is a psychological horror, and it's about a young woman who has lost her ability to create short-term memory. And the end of the film is kind of horrifying. She ends up stuck with her captor, who essentially replays the reason for which she has been abducted over and over every single day. It's 51st
title?
Dates.
50
Oh.
51st dates. Okay, I see what you did there.
Right? Like being stuck with Adam Sandler on a boat for the rest of your life with nothing but a VHS tape to give you the reason to continue with your. It's terrifying. It's horrifying, and God, what a brilliant premise! Just
All right then. So, and as far as goes here in the Jutra household, Stephanie's not a huge fan of scary movies, traditional horror movies, but one series that she seems to be okay with for some reason is the Alien franchise. So every few years we throw on the first Alien movie. We've actually gone through all the Alien movies before, at least once, if not more. And that first Alien movie is sort of is one of the early ones that set the template for sci-fi horror. That, and along with John Carpenter's The Thing, I would say, which they share a number of similarities, both classics in their own right. And the first Alien movie, directed, of course, by Ridley Scott. So yeah, that's never gets old as far as I'm concerned. And then, of course, we had Aliens, which was directed by James Cameron. A bit of a different tone, a bit more militaristic, but definitely good in its own right. But the first one, definitely more of the sci-fi horror side of things, and never gets old. So, with lots of recommendations for those of you who want to get their chills on a little bit come next Monday evening. So now it is time for our picks of the week. Very quickly, so we can wrap up. Let's start with Tasia. And the most predictable pick of the week ever, if anyone's been paying attention to the music release news in the last few days.
I wonder what I'm going to pick.
Tell us all about it,
For
Tasia.
your consideration, Midnights by Taylor Swift, except I would like to put on the table Midnights the 3 a.m. edition because it's 7 extra songs. So you get 20 songs instead of 13 songs. She's a lyrical genius. This whole album is a banger. There's a lot of standouts already. I've had people text me, be like, normally I'm not into her music. And oh my God, I love this album so much. And it's like, I know, get in line.
Tasia, I'm going to let you finish. But I think, Beyonce needs some consideration here. I mean, she's done
Well, funny you
Please
should
go on.
mention that.
Yeah.
Funny you should mention that because there is a song on the album called Karma. It is a complete bop. And I do say that a certain somebody you've imitated has gotten a lot of karma finally for his antics in the last week or so. But yes, standout songs, Maroon, Antihero, which was her lead single. I can't say the name of one because I don't want to swear. Snow on the Beach is really good. Karma is very good. Labyrinth is very good. There's a couple bonus tracks that are really good, etc., etc., etc.
And does
Dynamite
it?
album.
And in Karma, does there a line about like staying on your meds or anything like that?
No, it's actually really good. There's like I won't take up all the time with like the backstory of the song called Karma, but it's actually like this really sweet, like kind of bop of like, it's like a feeling for her of just like being good and like being, like okay in life and like that type
Mhm.
of thing. But yes, the whole album, it broke a Spotify record, obviously, because she's a queen. But it's very good. It's a strong recommendation.
Excellent. Just whatever you do, don't Google the controversy about the scale that she stands on in the video,
Oh my God.
because that's a whole other rabbit hole. Because no one can ever do anything right online.
No. And
Just
meanwhile,
saying.
by the way, that whole song is about her self-loathing. And like that's how she sees herself.
Yeah.
And you can't tell somebody how they are supposed to see themselves. Like that's not how that works. And she's been very open about struggling with anorexia and like feeling that way. And so
Yeah.
it's like, don't tell her she can't use that word and you're triggered because she used the word fat. That's how she feels.
I'm sorry. I've just sorry. This is just in. We've been canceled. Sorry, Tasia. We got to shut down the stream.
For this is one of our least offensive things.
Oh, she said the F word.
How dare I feel that way? Yeah.
Okay, Will, your pick of the week. A little less controversial.
Yeah, a little less controversial. I used the site recently. I've used a couple different services or sites to make custom stickers, custom shirts online. This is actually one of the better ones that I've found. I actually
It's called
made
Sticker
some
Mule.
Sticker Mule. I made some Molotov stickers. And it's not super cheap, but it's reasonable prices compared to what you get. And one of the things I like is it's mostly centered on stickers. There's a few other things. There's very limited options about shirts, but there's a lot of options of transparent stickers, holographic stickers, die cut stickers, square stickers, circle stickers, transfer stickers, blah 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 blah. Lots of options. If you are in the market for making stickers, it's a really good option. Some of the other services that I've used to do custom printing, varied results, varied product quality. Some of the other major players, focus on other things like business cards, but also sell hats and stickers and stuff like that. And anything sort of out of their area of specialty can be a bit mixed results. So I had really good experience with them. I'd recommend them. I am not paid by them. In fact, I paid them. So that's just
That is
my
our business
personal
model here at
choice.
Momentous.
Yes.
Cash goes out.
Yes,
Nothing
exactly.
comes in. Very cool. We'll have to check out Sticker Mule. Gray, your pick of the week.
This is the Ampere Jetpack, and it's a MagSafe backpack. It does full high-speed Apple charging. You might have to hit the button on the bottom.
Or your iPhone.
Oh, there we go. It's honestly, it's great. Like the magnet on it's really, really good. It's got a little color stripe on the side, 5,000 milliamp hour. The cool thing about this is that it can charge by USB-C, but you can also charge it with a lightning cable. So if you've got a USB-C lightning cable, you can charge it through that USB-C lightning cable port and it will charge at high speed. And then you can then flip it around and use the USB-C port and plug it into your phone if you want to, if you don't want it actually connecting. And it's just a great little device. $49 US. So I think it's US, but it's great. It's fast. I ordered this, off of Kickstarter yonks ago, and it finally showed up. There was an address mishap, but great.
Is this the one from 10 years ago?
No, that's a book.
Oh, okay. That was a different address mishap. Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Gotcha.
I apparently moved too much, so. But yeah, really love it. They've got a great little bag that this actually fits into a little special slot in it. When you put your phone in, it claps on and starts charging, and then you can pull your phone out and sort of an instant, easy charge thing.
Super cool. Yeah. Well, power banks are definitely a must nowadays, even with increasing battery capacities in our smartphones nowadays. So we still tend to run them out because we use them more all day, every day. So this little 5,000 milliamp hour jetpack can take your phone from 0 to 80%, which is plenty to get you through the end of the day, I suspect. So, and it seems nice and nice and simple and clean. Than the fact that it's MagSafe. You know, you don't even need a cable to plug it into your phone to charge. Just slap it on the back and you're good to go. Love it. Jetpack. Mine is another TV series, one that we've discovered maybe a year or so ago, and I don't think I've talked about it before. Will, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to do another Wellington Paranormal on us here, but
I'm sorry.
no, that's fine. It's just, again, the aging. The aging. So this is a series from about 2011 that features a pre-Parks and Recreation Adam Scott, a pre-Brooklyn 99 Ken Marino, and a post-Cloverfield Lizzie Kaplan, and as well as Jane Lynch, I think pre-Glee Jane Lynch or mid-Glee Jane Lynch, and we also have Megan Mullally in season 2. Also, what's that fella's name who was in Freaks and Geeks, and then he was in Silicon Valley as well. The name is escaping me. Here it is, Martin Starr too. So it's basically it's about a catering company that is staffed by it's a ragtag bunch of characters, many of whom are aspiring actors, because I believe it's set in the LA area, and it's filmed, cinema verite style, the handheld camera. It's not using like the mockumentary sort of conceit there. It's just kind of low budget, sort of lo-fi. But once you get into it, it's fun. It's not like a classic by any stretch, but it's interesting to see these actors before they got bigger, as the case may be. And I've just learned that they're going to be doing a season 3. So like a decade later. And there was an image of Adam Scott in the classic pink bow tie and white shirt as one of the party down catering crew. So in Canada here, you can watch it on Crave. It's actually on Stars, so you can watch it with Crave or with the Stars add-on through Apple TV or Prime Video. And in the States, I guess it's on Stars there too. I'm not sure where else you get Stars content in the US, but it's if you're looking for good half hour, 22-minute lunchtime fare like we often do. This fills that role quite nicely. Thank you very much. Quick projects we have. Just Tasia this week, I believe. Will, no beats for us?
You know what? I've released some beats, but they're not live, so I didn't put them on.
We'll save it for next time. We'll go straight to Tasia then. And Gray, you've got something for us next week you cannot reveal quite yet, correct? All right, Tasia, what's your video this week?
It's obviously on the Pixel 7 Pro camera system. It's a complete review and the best features. Much like Taylor Swift Midnight's album, it's a banger. So she's in love. And to quote Taylor Swift, it's a love story. So that's what I'm working on. You can go to youtube.com/Tasia Custody to check it out.
So one quick little teaser. What's one thing you liked about the camera or the Pixel 7 Pro in general, whether it's about the camera or otherwise?
My favorite feature to ever be a feature ever in life, which is photo unblur. And I literally fell to my knees. It was that good.
In your video, do you show some examples of before and after the photo unblur?
I do. And I actually just put out a short as well that shows people how to use photo unblur. And I use a photo from 2013 from a DSLR that is blurry, and then it's not blurry anymore.
What?
It's pretty spectacular, if I do say so myself.
Powered by the Tensor processor from Google.
It's
very
amazing.
Cool. So we can find that at youtube.com/Tasia Custody and all your work at TasiaCustody.com. Awesome. All right, folks, we nailed it. Although, even with our rocky start, we've got another one in the bag. That was Momentous Live episode 85. You can find out more about us at Momentous.tv/links. And Tasia, Gray, Will, thank you as always. And we hope your week and that of everyone else who might be out there, your week and your Halloween is truly momentous. Whoa.